Lecture number 2. How much knowledge of Joyce's biography, Irish history, or modernist literature do I need to read Ulysses? Well, I'd suggest that first-time readers steer fairly wide but warily through these kinds of topics. Quite a number of you may be interested in pursuing them further during class discussions, and any of us in the group can post some additional items on our classroom site. I'll certainly suggest some of those along the way. It is quite impossible not to consider these and other such topics in any discussion of Ulysses, and no real reading of the novel should escape this kind of contextual study. But should one really feel obligated to do deeper reading before wading into Joyce? To be fair, it helps. It informs. It enriches the text. But it's also the wide and well-decorated breezeway or entrance hall to the impossibly deep rabbit hole of Joyce studies. So I'd like to start with that warning. Proceed if you will, but move cautiously ahead. Still, there are a few fairly important points to consider as we begin our journey into the novel. So I'll list a few of them here. While the germ of the idea was with him much longer, Joyce wrote this book between the years of 1914 and 1922, living in Trieste, Zurich, and Paris. During that time, he saw the build-up to and the devastation caused by the First World War as an Irishman living in major metropolitan cities of Italian, Germanic, and French culture. But he also saw, as an Irishman living in these foreign countries on a British passport and working as a teacher, translator of English, the shaky, teetering, overextended, and overconfident arrogance of colonialism and the eventual demise of British imperialism. He read, from a distance, the revolutionary cries of his former countrymen in Dublin, the city of his birth, and the great home of his exiled heart. But we must remember that his exile from Dublin was self-imposed, that he left behind a culture there that he felt was stifling to his potential as an artist. And we should also remember that the Irish question of republicanism was something he had seen turned into fanciful dinner conversation for the cultural elite of his time. He saw the again growing, ever-present wave of anti-Semitism, which was linked, as it has ever been, to a hatred for outsiders in a world that was becoming more culturally blended. He saw it sweep through the urban areas of European cities recently and terribly disenfranchised by war. And he knew how terrible the effects might be. The promise of his life as an artist that echoed through the final pages of Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man had led to a troubled living for this now adult father of two, who, despite an enormous and perhaps self-inflated reputation as a genius voice of his time, still needed to teach English and take odd jobs to support his family. Joyce is, at the time of this book, closer in age and in spirit to Bloom than he is to Stephen, his counterpart in Portrait. This is a key to the humor. There's a lot of Bloom in Joyce, and vice versa, as he looks back at the person he once boldly and in print claimed himself to be. And the view is often not so flattering. As a modernist, he felt a great desire to weave autobiography, veiled or acute, into his work without the trappings of the confessional, which so haunted him as a recovering Catholic. Stephen is the Catholic, and man, is that guy haunted. Bloom, for all his real troubles, is a joy by comparison. All of these things will play a part in our understanding the book's illusions and its power. But too heavy a discussion on any of them could fill an entire course of study, truly. So be careful, be wary, and take a good look around here while we stand in the breezeway. Be cautious of those halls in which the light seems dim. As I write these lectures in the summer of 2020, through the pandemic that we are all experiencing and which forces us to flee from public gatherings into the more controlled world of literature, I'm excited by the conversations this book can generate here online, and if you're interested in heading into some of these areas of discussion together, well, I know my way through quite a few of those rabbit holes. But rather than see any of you get bogged down by literary importance too early, I'd suggest we concentrate instead on what the book brings to each of us now, nearly 100 years after its publication. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.